This is Out in the Country, a production of Interstate Farm Network. I'm Ken Morgan. Thanks for listening in. Each episode, we'll take a look at what farmers and ranchers are hearing in their news feeds, along with a check with growers in a specific region of the country. In this episode, we'll check in with the grower who farms west of Interstate 29 in north-central North Dakota, along with showcasing some of the best things you'll find in that area. Over the past week, there's been a lot going on for producers. Scanning the headlines will give you some idea. Like almost one quarter of farmers don't have internet access, although there was some moderate improvement in internet access from 2017 to 22. The U.S. beef cow inventory has fallen to its lowest level in more than 60 years and could take years to rebuild. And last week, we got a cattle on feed report from USDA. Analyst Shale Shagam has the key numbers from that cattle on feed report.
On August 1st, the number of cattle on feed in U.S. feedlots of 1,000 head or greater was just under 11.1 million head, which was only about 35,000 head above August 1st, 2023. During July, producers placed about 1.7 million head of cattle on feed, which was about 6% above a year earlier. During July, feedlots marketed just under 1.9 million head, which was about 8% above a year earlier. But that large number also reflects the fact that there were 2 extra slaughter days during July. If we go ahead and we make the adjustment for those 2 additional days, marketings were actually about 2% below a year ago.
Also last week, we found out that fuel prices declined slightly, and that farmers and ranchers are being required to file ownership information. CattleCon 2025 registration is now open. That'll be held in San Antonio on February 4th through the 6th. The EPA has released a new herbicide strategy. A study shows the value of livestock grazing as a tool to protect western rangelands from wildfires. And a Canadian rail strike is underway. The Canola Council of Canada says service has come to a stop, and that impacts all parts in their value chain. North American cattle leaders from Canada, the U.S., and Mexico held a joint meeting last week. Imports of animal fats and processed oils are way up, and July milk output declined modestly. Also in the news, wholesale egg prices are continuing to climb. USDA livestock analyst Shale Shagam says this year's egg production is well below last year.
We are again looking at very tight supplies. In July, egg production, July being the most recent data we have, table egg production was about 630 million dozen, compared to about 640 million dozen in July of 2023.
Looking ahead into 2025, USDA economist Megan Schweitzer has the latest food price forecast.
In 2025, prices for food at home or groceries are predicted to increase by 1.1%. Prices for food away from home or restaurants are predicted to increase by 3.1% in 2025. And prices for all food, so both together, are predicted to increase by 2% in 2025.
Harvest is on the mind of producers across the country, and whether you love apples or pears, grapes or peaches, USDA has the latest numbers regarding fall-time fruit production for this year. Rod Bain has this report.
Late summer and fall-time fruits are found at your local grocery store and retailers about now. And if not now, fairly soon. And depending on what your taste is, you should have no problems finding your favorite as you shop or perhaps pick your own. USDA's latest production forecast for fall-time fruits breaks down specific products. Fleming Gibson of the National Agricultural Statistics Service starts with apples.
Our apple production this season is going to be down 2.2%, very similar to some of our prior years.
The nation's largest apple-producing state, Washington, along with Michigan, each record year-over-year reductions of over 100 million pounds produced, offsetting an increase in New York State apple production. Turning to cranberries.
Production, we're up 1.6%. Massachusetts, the second largest producing state's up 12% compared to the previous year.
The rise in Bay State cranberry production offset a slight decline in what the nation's largest cranberry growing state, Wisconsin, harvested this year. When it comes to U.S. grape production in 2024,
We are up 7.7% on production. We did add New York and Oregon back to the estimating program for grapes. That was one of our program changes to add them back in.
and the nation's largest grape-growing state, California, reported more total grapes produced than the prior year, with year-over-year increased production noted for both Golden State raisin and table grapes. The latest look at domestic peach production by NASS was significant in that
This is our first all peach forecast of the year. In May, we forecast just California only. So this is our first full peach forecast of the year, up 22.2% this season. California, which is the largest producing state for peaches, is looking at the highest production since 2017. Pretty good year they're expecting out in California.
also Georgia and South Carolina peach crop production significantly rebounded this year, after freeze events in 2023 severely impacted the crops in those states. As for pear production,
Predominantly in the West Coast region, Washington, Oregon, California, 520,000 tons this season. This will be the lowest U.S. production dating back to 2007.
Washington, the leading pear-growing state, was significantly impacted by early winter cold weather, then a freeze during blooming season in the spring. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
In the past week, corn and soybean condition ratings continued to be very good. Gary Crawford has the story.
A week ago, USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey told us he didn't see anything standing in the way of bumper corn and soybean crops. And now, though, 1 week later, he's telling us the same thing.
And so I don't see anything standing in the way of what is still expected to be very large corn and soybean crops.
Condition ratings still looking good, Rippey says, for corn.
Very little change in the overall condition numbers. We are steady, 67% good to excellent. We did see a 1 point uptick in the very poor to poor ratings. 11% is the current number.
And for soybeans, practically a carbon copy of the corn numbers.
68% good to excellent, no change from last week. 8% very poor to poor. That's also no change from last week.
So things are holding steady.
Despite some dryness nibbling away at the corners of the Midwest as we head late into the growing season.
This is Gary Crawford reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey has a look at spring wheat harvesting condition.
31% of the U.S. crop has been cut by August 18th. That is 5 points behind the 5-year average, 4 points behind last year at this time. The harvest progress ranges from 21% complete in North Dakota to 70% complete in South Dakota. We are still seeing at least another week, well, we'll see it next week at least, for spring wheat condition, but with a third of the crop almost harvested, these numbers should be pretty well locked in. We're looking at a spring wheat crop that is going to finish up near 73% good to excellent, 5% very poor to poor, far better than last year's numbers, 38% good to excellent, 23% very poor to poor. And even though we did see some heat late in the year and some dryness, really the only state that saw a big drop in condition was Washington State. They're coming in this week at 18% of the spring wheat rated very poor to poor.
A couple hours west of Interstate 29 in northeast North Dakota along Highway 5 and westward will take you near Rolla, North Dakota, and that's where Doyle Lentz farms. We talked a little bit about crop conditions in his neighborhood.
Well, somewhere between slow and no. I mean, we were just like rain again this morning with the dew and everything, and we're still at 70% humidity, and
Yeah.
we just got the smoke just cleared out about an hour ago, and the samples that have came into the local elevator so far today have been 19 and 20. So we can only handle so much wet grain is what it boils down to.
Yeah, not what you're looking for to get things done and wrapped up for the season.
Yeah, well, there's hardly any harvest done up here on the border. I mean, in the Rolla area here, a couple percent. I mean, most guys haven't even tried it yet.
We've had kind of an odd season because it's been rainy or not. We've had smoky conditions and other things. Has it helped growth of the crops, or has it been kind of a detriment overall?
Well, I mean, we've got a excellent stand. It's a good-looking crop. The canola and beans look fantastic. But the fact is, the small grains, we're all pins and needles about disease. Probably right now we're starting to worry about some falling numbers, sprouting issues, things like that. So, generally speaking, we do better in a drought than we do in a flood. And I think last year versus this year's got evidence of that.
Hopefully, sometime by early September, you're done out of the field with most of those crops.
Well, our goal is always to have the canola wrapped up, for like big iron. That second week there of September, thereabout. And then usually we got about a week or two and we get into the beans. It's kind of how it usually works. But I'd be surprised this year. I'm thinking up here there's probably going to be as much wheat left, by the 1st of September than there is harvested. And the canola, I just don't see hardly a field of canola that's even close. We're talking maybe a month yet or close to it.
Yeah, most of the
beautiful crop. Don't get me wrong, but we were just late getting in the field, and then between the wind blowing things out and all that, we've been playing catch up all year.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, you've been farming in that area for a long time. It's family operation and all. Over the years, there's been a lot of change in the cropping that you've been doing in that area, correct?
Oh, yeah. This is our 127th crop. So we've been here a long time. The small grains right now are just kind of our vehicle to get to the canola or the soybeans. Soybeans is the biggest thing probably because, I don't know, I'm totally guessing, but I think probably a third of the acres up here almost are soybeans. So, that's something, if you'd have told me that 20 years ago, I'd have had a pretty good laugh, but they do well here. They look good. They fit into our rotation. So that's kind of been the thing about them. They also split up our harvest, which is a big benefit.
Yeah, you don't have to do everything all at once. You've got some time in between to get things wrapped up and then move on.
Right. And it saves us a little bit on the nitrogen, and everything. Where it kind of cuts our input costs. So, in these times get a little lean like this, you're not putting quite as much money into them crops as you would be, say, canola or something like that.
Is your dad still working harvest?
Oh, well, my dad's 85, and yeah, he still runs the combine. But his new co-pilot is our new farmer. My daughter is actually going to take over everything of his this coming year, and she's integrating herself into the farm right now. Billy is. So we're, in fact, right now she's downloading some stuff for a new drone we've got. So it's kind of exciting for us old guys again now to get back, raise our level of interest, if you will, because the new people are here. So we're kind of excited about that.
When it comes to things to see in northeast North Dakota, I was told that Mike Jensen at the North Dakota Department of Tourism has all the details. However, I haven't been able to reach him yet. I expect to get a call through here this week, and then we'll add on a little bit and let you know more about that. You can go to rendezvousregion.com and get all kinds of information about golf, hiking, ATV usage, mountain biking, festivals, including Walhalla's 20th annual Giant Pumpkin Fest. The Rendezvous region is full of history because that's where trappers went, back about the time that Europeans started to move into the neighborhood. Another region in northeast North Dakota is the International Peace Garden. It's a beautiful place set along the border of Manitoba and North Dakota. The International Peace Garden, according to their website, is nestled in the Turtle Mountains, a celebration of peace, a living monument to the ideals of friendship and cooperation among nations. You can go to peacegarden.com to find out more. For this episode, that'll do it for Out in the Country, a production of Interstate Farm Network. I'm Ken Morgan. Thanks for joining in.